Welcome to Next Topic Podcast, where the only rule is to stay on topic and no topic is off limits. Today is episode number 27, June the 30th, and we are still under quarantine. My name is Lo. Go ahead and introduce yourselves, fellas.
My name is Shad.
Cam.
This is Bell.
And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about whether or not we deem it's appropriate for any actor to play any role, regardless of the ethnic background of that character or the historical representation of that character. Rashad, you are going to give us an introduction as to
so
why
last
we're
week we saw The Simpsons release a statement that they would stop using white actors to voice non-white characters. Also, Mike Henry, who voices Cleveland Brown on Family Guy, stepped down from his role as well.
After 20 years.
After 20 years, because he is a white guy portraying a black man on television. Also, we also saw Kristen Bell and Jenny Slate step down for their animated roles as well. So last week, we just seen a gamut of white folks step down if they were portraying a black person or a POC person as well.
And this has been a hot topic for a while, too. Like, we've seen people like Scarlett Johansson justify playing all kind of roles.
Everybody and their mama.
And so before we really start talking about it, I just want to ask y'all, I'm going to throw out some scenarios of a certain person playing a certain role, and then you just tell me yes or no if you think it's okay. So is it, because I don't think the question is not can they. As an actor, you should be able to play any type of role, but you should be able to, but should you actually take the role, right? So should a hetero person play a gay role?
Yes.
Yeah.
No.
So Abel, you said no, you two said yes. I'm kind of on the fence about this one. I can't say that I have a strong opinion. The next one is, should an able-bodied person play a disabled role?
What disability are we talking about? Any of them? All
Any.
of them? I'm like,
they could be blind.
Is it like
it could
autistic?
The whole spectrum.
Yes.
And if you feel a certain way, like certain roles should not be played by able-bodied people, then that's another thing too. I would say no on this one.
I would say no as well.
The next one is, should a white person play a role of a character that should be a person of color? Okay, I shouldn't actually. That was really like the way I phrased.
Yeah,
that.
I'm like, should be a person of color.
Should a white person play a person of color role?
What makes okay?
My answer is hell no.
No as well.
I think
it depends.
Yeah, and I also think it depends on.
Okay, we're not going to get into what circumstances you think it's okay until later. Okay, fine. Yes, depends. No, hell no. The last one is, should a black person or other person of color be allowed to play any role?
Yes.
Yeah.
My answer is Cameron, say
Any role?
Because I'm about to call you out for yesterday. I say yes.
Hey,
but should a black or a person of color, should they be allowed to play any role? Just like,
no, they shouldn't.
I think
no. I think no. Not any role.
Okay,
no.
so let's
I don't think,
yeah.
It's a whole bunch of nuances in there, and without going into details of why I said that, but we can get into it now.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, we will get into it now. Okay, so let's start with hetero folks playing gay roles. Y'all said yes.
I said yes.
I said I'm on the fence, and Abel said no. So Abel, I want to start with you with why you said no.
Because there's a lot of people that identify as LGBTQ plus community that don't get roles. So there's already actors waiting to get jobs. So hire them. You know what I mean? Why not give them opportunity to play a role that represents themselves and the community that they identify as? Not to say only exclude the opportunity for them, but I don't think you should be giving heterosexual people like roles while you're closing opportunity for people. So that's my thing. Like hire people.
I agree
I
with
agree
what you
too.
said,
Mhm.
I do too.
but you too, Rashad and Cameron, you
Yes.
also are comfortable with the idea of hetero folks playing LGBTQ plus roles.
Yes, I'm comfortable with it. I do agree about that. Like I've seen many instances of like heterosexual people playing LGBTQ roles, and I thought they did a good job doing it. I do think like there should be like more opportunities of of people from the queer community playing those queer roles. To like a caveat to what I said, because I feel as though, and this goes for all of the questions that you asked, like if one group of people can play like the other role, I think that other group of people should be able to play their role too.
No.
Yeah,
I hear you.
I know.
Sorry.
We're talking about what I was saying. What I was thinking, I was like, should like, sure. I'm like, I'm like, some people like do a good job after all, but I do think like prioritization of like who should get the role of like people coming from that direct experience. I do like think yes, because I do like sometimes like being like a gay person isn't the only or the main part of that person's like identity that is portrayed like on that, on that in that character,
I understand.
Yeah. So that's why I said what I said.
Cameron, did you have anything you want to say?
I definitely agree with Abel. Like, definitely open up those spaces for that community to play those roles. But only reason I disagree with or think that hetero people should be able to play the homosexual role is because I'm in a situation now where I'm working on a web series with two friends, and we have a gay male role, and it's hard. We wanted to cast a gay male, but one, putting that out there to the public and be like, hey, I'm looking for somebody in the LGBT community to play this role. I got backlash from a Bay Area filmmakers, actors group. That's like, hey,
Really?
you shouldn't specify what you want. You should put the role out there and just let everybody go for it and let the talent speak for itself.
Interesting.
But in auditions, you're gonna mention what you're looking for. I'm thinking.
Well, so yeah, that was like the confusion for me as well, because I wanted to let them know what type of role they would be auditioning for, but they were saying let them know at that audition what the role it would be, and then
Got you.
choose from then on. But you
I don't
can't.
know if I agree with that, but
I don't
Yeah.
want to be upfront with the role and what it was.
Because like the same thing, like let's think about like any of these like tech companies, right? Like if they are trying to diversify their workforce, you can't, like, you have to take a different approach when you are actually trying to get diverse candidates. You can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna put the role out there, the diverse candidates are just gonna come, when we know that's how it happens now, and that's not the reality.
right,
You
it's
know what I
different
mean?
when you talk about your candidates being like from the queer community is different. They ain't gonna ever say, "Oh, we want someone of the queer community in this role." They would say that if they want a person of color, though.
Yes.
That'd be. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, we want a gay person to be the director of marketing, but but they will.
Yes, I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying.
but they make it clear if they wanted like
So
person of color.
the reason I'm on the fence about hetero people playing people of the LGBTQ community, the reason I'm on the fence is because, one, oftentimes people of the LGBTQ community are stereotyped, right? And so I almost feel like having a hetero person play a role could offer a different perspective, like for folks, because they might just assume like, oh, that LGBTQ person is just playing themselves, and it's always just this one image. Not to say that they don't fall, not to say that they themselves don't fit into the stereotype, but it just kind of broadens some people who can be closed-minded, their horizon, like their view, of like what LGBTQ people are like, because everyone's different. No one fits into one cookie cutter, whatever. But the reason I feel like it shouldn't be the case is because oftentimes we see in like our Academy Award, celebrations and stuff, that people win awards for this and they're celebrated for it, but they're not LGBTQ people. So it's like you're celebrating this culture, this character without and actually investing in that, you know, telling that story without actually celebrating the people or investing in the people that the story comes from. And that's my problem with it across the board.
So
that's a great point.
My question is, if you're looking for a role like that, how do you find the people in that community to play those roles?
I didn't think, I mean, to be honest, Cameron, I don't think like the way the approach you took, I thought was fine. Like, I don't think anything's wrong with that.
You might just have a shortage of the people who are willing to do that in an area within you're in. But
right, because you mentioned like prioritizing, and I agree with that. I think you said that, Roshad.
Well, I put 3 roles on there, and one of them was a homosexual male, and that was the one that got backlash.
Really?
That's so weird. Yeah, because people be like, "Oh, I'm looking for someone who, you know,
movies are
like
very specific.
Brown and like looks young,
5'4" and under, like, big ears."
Yeah.
I think, to be honest with you, Cameron, especially since the web series you're working on, if this was like, let's say, Hollywood and there's a production company backing you up as far as like a budget, then that's a different story, because you could actually go to agents and talk about actors. But since it's like independent film or low budget film, then I don't think the approach you took necessarily is wrong, to be honest. Even though you did get backlash from it, because you have to be specific. If you're working independent, you have to be specific. That's the only way I feel like you're gonna get what you need, or people gonna like reach out, share and stuff like that, and say, hey, I thought you like I would be good for this role, or my friend would be good for this role. At least that's what's been from my experience. But yeah, I don't think the approach you took is wrong, to be honest.
Yes. Let's move on to the next category, which is able-bodied people playing disabled roles. And I feel like this is even more difficult for disabled people to kind of get into the Hollywood industry. Yeah. And what was that movie? A Quiet Place. So one of the lead actors in that film, the daughter, the character is deaf. She happened to be a deaf actress. And on top of that, everyone on the set actually learned sign language to communicate with her. And I thought that was really cool. Like, for one, giving this opportunity to someone who actually lives that experience. I feel like that enhances the role. And it's coming from a place of truth, where, not to say, like, again, this is not to say that actors cannot bring a lot of great things to a role, but like in real life, we always talk about, we don't expect white people to understand the full Black experience, right? So I don't care if you're an actor or not, you're not going to 100% get it, or like bring, you know, all those nuances that exist within Black culture to the role. So I feel the same way for other identities or life experiences. Do y'all think, I mean, because we've seen other roles, we've seen like Sean Penn play
Tom Hanks, Forrest Gump.
Exactly. So
Radio.
And these are all these are all celebrated roles. I'm like, sure, they did their thing. But are we okay with that? You know what I mean? Because they will, like I said, they will win awards for this. The money goes into their pocket at the end of the day.
That's true.
And it's not that there aren't any disabled people who are actors as well, you know? It might take a little more effort. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the numbers are, but I'm saying it might take a little more effort to source them, just like the same way like Cameron's trying to find a gay dude for his role.
I feel like, so this brings a question to me. Does having, like, say for radio, for instance, does having a person with that disability, does it harm the chances of the role actually being played out? You know what I mean?
I get what you're saying. Someone with like a very severe disability, it's pretty difficult to, yes, I hear what you're saying.
At what point is there a line to decide like the disability is too much for the role, so we have to have someone not disabled play that role? You know what I mean?
Like, which one, like, with disability is like okay for me to have, like, you know, someone else play that, and which ones are not?
Right.
I feel in the case of radio,
I
Cameron, I have to agree with you. I think they
What
did
disability was
the
it?
right thing.
I want to say it was like, I don't know how to politically say this correctly, but it was a mental disability, and I know you can't use that R word.
Oh, it wasn't like autism or Asperger's or.
I actually don't know what the
Hmm.
diagnosis was for
Okay.
his character or the man himself. I
Okay.
don't know, but somewhere on the spectrum, Roshad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also with that, I've seen like a lot of like autistic actors out there play people on TV like with autism, but it always depends on like I think the severity
Yeah.
of it. So I don't know. It's like if people have like epilepsy, like you can't like have them on like
No.
TV. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So,
Yes. I agree with that.
yes. I'm like, you can hurt them. So I think it mostly like depends on the disability, and that's why I said yes. That's why I said yes to that, because like we wasn't differentiating between the ones. So
Yeah, and I agree with that. This is why I wanted to like dive in deeper to like the responses you gave. Belle, I can't remember. Did you? Oh, go ahead, Cameron.
He had autism. It was autism.
Okay.
The way y'all was thinking, I might have to be autism.
Yeah. Belle, did you say yes or no to that one?
I said to that one, but after hearing multiple kind of like sides, it really depends on the disability. To be honest, now that I think about it, I didn't think about it too when I first initially answered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I have to agree with that too. The next one, how did I get to a new note? The next one, though, this is okay. Now we're gonna talk about race. So did I delete my note? Gosh darn. So the next one, I'm actually really mad.
Look at the trash. Notes go to the trash. They have a trash.
Oh, okay. Let me do that.
But I was saying, like, I was also thinking about, like, while you look for your note, the book of Eli or whatever, like a blind person playing.
He was blind and deaf.
Right. I was like,
oh, you sure was.
Yeah, I was like, I don't
and
know.
I love that movie.
But I love Book of Eli too. But yeah, I was like, I don't know how that would be very difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would have to have a specific, just like someone to deal with that person to make sure the role was played correctly. Kind of like a handler, so to speak. That role, you would have to.
Roshad. Yeah, but not handler.
Handler? Like
like it's an animal.
Just say
assistant.
To understand.
Right. I just thought about, I didn't even like think about like them, like per se. I thought like more so for like the other people, like the director, like you're gonna be able to hear like shoot, cut, like, and he fights a lot in that movie. So like that choreography that's involved in that would be like an extra work. Hollywood has the money to make it happen. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying the higher budget, which people wouldn't be willing to pay for. And it'll be a lot of work, all the extra than everybody else would like need to be like well equipped, to like be able to like work with a person who is like deaf and blind. It's just like it's a lot of extra
in that sort of role. Absolutely.
Right.
Okay. So here's the next question. Actually, I don't know which one I want to ask first because I feel like I'm just going to go there. Should a white person play people of color roles?
I think it depends on the role.
No.
I think it depends on the role too. I think.
So what kind of role?
I can't think on off the top of my head like we did for everything else, but like I said, like it just depends on the role.
So when I say a person of color role, I'm talking about
let's be more specific in your act.
Yes, I can be specific. Let's say Moonlight. If Moonlight was some white people.
I feel like the whole story
bunch of layers.
Change.
Like I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know.
I've seen it. I think like his background and his story like was like written for him.
Let's say the Harriet movie that just came out, right? We had heard some, talks about whether or not, or I guess the original director or whatever. I might get these details wrong, but they had sought out Julia Roberts to play the role of Harriet Tubman.
Right. I also think Cynthia, what's her last name? Invero?
Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah, I don't think she should have played the role either. She ain't African
British
American.
Black woman.
Yeah,
right.
I don't think she should have played it, if I'm being quite honest. If we want
Get
to go
into
there.
it. Tell us. Yeah, okay, that's fine.
We talking about like a real experience of a real person. You can find not one Black person in America to play Harry, not one.
And what's interesting now, in a lot of movies we see, like a lot of the Black actors, you see them in an interview, come to find out they're Brits. A lot of African American actors are not getting these roles, but a lot of Brits are. And what is that? I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is.
I think it's representation. Because you got to think, at the end of the day, it's about who you're represented by and who you know. Let's be clear. It's Hollywood. Sometimes it's not about the talent. Just like All American. He's British.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to get into this British talk. Let me dial it back in because we got to stay with the rules here, y'all.
Okay, to answer that question, I would say no. I don't think a white person should be playing in the film as an identity of a person of color, like taking on the identity of a person of color, or just taking that spot, because you're just going to change the story and the dynamic of the story, 100%. And if you're going to color your face in and act as a person of color, even more so wrong. No, you shouldn't.
Right. I feel like if you have to do that to assume that role, you shouldn't. If you got to paint your face, if you got to put on prosthetics so your face looks a certain way, you should not be in that role.
I agree with that. But I think, like, if we talk on a TV show, let's pick, like, I think of like a TV show. Because I'm trying to say, like, I don't remember like that many episodes of like That's So Raven was about her and her family being Black. I remember it would be more so her being like overweight and things like that. But I don't remember.
There was that episode when her and Chelsea was trying to work at the store, and it was.
I remember it was that one episode. That one out of That's So Raven had 100. That one where I'm like, I don't see That's So Raven being that much different if Raven was played by a white girl.
I don't either. But here's my argument, is that Hollywood is dominated by white hetero men, right?
Right.
They're writing the stories, they're directing the shows, they're the ones paying for it. Exactly. Through and through. And so I feel that, one, we don't have enough opportunities to show different Black people on screen. Like, we got the Cosby Show, and great, a Black family, mom and dad work, whatever. But there's other Black families. And I'm saying is, like, if white people are gonna be telling the story and doing all this and that, at least allow Black people the freedom to play the character so they can, insert their whole, artistic, whatever.
That's completely different than the question you're asking.
Right, I agree.
That's
different.
Because that's a topic of opportunity, not a topic of white playing Black and Black playing white. That's two different things.
So what I'm saying is, like, Cameron, you know how you wrote down, like, oh, this is the character, this is my description of the character. If your description of the character starts with Black, I'm saying a white person shouldn't come in and play that role, like, if you can't find a Black actor, because you can't find, that's what I'm saying by should white people play person of color roles. I'm talking about historical reference, but I'm also talking about fictional characters. So there's two. You might disagree with one and agree with the other.
Yes.
And I think you agree with, like, white people playing fictional characters and not with white people playing historical figures.
Exactly.
Got you. Yes.
Right. And then also what
I'm saying they shouldn't do either.
I'm fine with them playing like a fictional person. Like if it was I don't even know if the Green Lantern was originally Black or white, but if somebody would play the fucking Green Lantern, they can be Black, white, Puerto Rican, Asian. Let them play the Green Lantern. Like, it doesn't matter to like the storyline of the Green Lantern.
I just feel like if they're originally a person of color, you shouldn't switch it and whitewash it, because that's what we're so used to seeing in media, whether it's in our textbooks or our films. Everything gets whitewashed. You look at the Egyptians in all the films; they got all these white people.
I know.
With straight hair and
Catherine,
blue eyes.
Audrey Hepburn, what's her name? Yeah. I understand that, but I'm like at a certain point, I'm like, do I want to piss y'all off or not? Like, if we talking about made up places, like if they would have like made a white person like from Wakanda, I'm like, it's a made up place. It could be a white person from Wakanda.
Sure, there could be a white person from Wakanda, but that shouldn't be the main narrative. Like, Black people have, like, it's been a struggle to get our stories out in the forefront. So like, I don't feel like you should just backtrack and make it white. That's what we always do, is make shit white.
You're right. You have a different issue.
Let me get my charger. Hold on. Keep going though.
With this versus what's really what we're really talking about. She's talking about having an issue with the opportunity and the narrative and the way shit is written and played out, not versus should this person play this person based off the description. That doesn't matter. We're talking about people playing black roles and black people playing white roles. It's honestly, if like Rashad said, if somebody, a white person, if Chris Evans played fucking Black Panther, it's a fictional character. And
that's not okay, but no.
But I think it
Go
holds a lot of values. All right, so if you wrote Black Panther and you're directing Black Panther, you have a motive for the message of the story. So by inserting a white man in Michael B. Jordan's role, you're swaying the story, even though you may not think it is a fictional character and the movie will play out exactly the same it did. You're still swaying a lot of the representation of the story, and that affects how people look at Black Panther or how people look at the story itself. And I think that's why, like, I feel like you have to be hella intentional with like who you're putting as characters. Even I've heard of I don't want to like sway the conversation a whole different direction, but I've heard of arguments where a lot of times, like in romantic and Black movies, in a romantic role, the Black woman is usually like fair skin, like lighter skin, like dark skinned women don't get representation in Hollywood. That was an argument that I've heard like a couple years ago too. So it's like you want to be intentional with who you're putting on screen, because a lot of people are going to be watching the film and see who's going to be the superhero, who's going to be the criminal, and you want to be like kind of cautious of, these are
reinforcing these stereotypes.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like, we understand that about the stereotype and the racism in America. Like, if we bring in all that connotation into it, then yes. But like, if we lived in a world where everyone was equal, I don't know what that looked like, or I don't think people can envision it. But if someone can play Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, anybody can do it. If someone want to play a fictional character from want to play like Thor, he a god, he can look like whatever he want to look like, then yes,
and that's fine, but we don't live in that utopia. So my viewpoint is based on the world in which I live in. Go ahead, Cameron.
So Abel, you said the fact that, with the way it was written, you would change the story and yada yada yada. You're failing to realize that it was written by two white men, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Regardless of who the fuck they put in there, somebody else directed it. Thank God they got Ryan Coogler to direct it, but they could have got somebody else. They could have got Michael Bay, and they could have casted anybody they wanted to, because the person who wrote the story. Yes, he put a black, but he didn't have to. It's a white man who wrote the story. He can put whatever the fuck he wants there. It's a fictional story.
Okay. Yes, but you can't ignore when that comic came out, right? The historical ties to when that comic came out, the fact that it's called Black Panthers. You cannot write that. You can't rewrite it. Yeah, I think that slipped out the right way.
Cameron is already white.
Right. Black Panther was the superhero's costume, not the person. Yes, they made him a black person, but I also think that was due to the times. But Black Panther is about the costume. It's not about
yeah, of course he's not a real panther.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that's where it's coming from. Like, you say it has to be black because it's Black Panther. No, nigga. Whitey down the street could put on a Black Panther costume and it's Black Panther.
I think you're missing my point here.
Okay, I think when Star Wars, right, they revealed that, what's his name, John, he's from England as well, John.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, his last name starts with
a D. John Boyega.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah, they revealed that he was, I believe, the main character, right, in Star Wars.
He was one of the, he was
one of the main characters. And there was a lot of backlash from fans of the story and from low-key white people when they figured that out. So it's like, if Black Panther was to take out his custom whatever, and it was a white person, and do you think there's gonna be backlash?
From the black
Yes.
people, yes.
Yeah, right.
Uh-huh.
None of it would make sense. I'm sorry. The story just does not make sense.
The movie probably wouldn't make. I'm like, if Michael B. Jordan was white, I'll be more upset about that than if the Black Panther was.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, if we're being clear about who should be black and who should not be black. I'm like, the only person who really should be black in that movie was Michael B. Jordan.
No, everyone should have been black. Because I'm not about to sit up here and allow Hollywood to continue to whitewash Africa. I get it. There's white people that are in Africa.
It's a made-up,
but we're not about
country
to,
that's wrapped up
I
in
know,
the
but
bubble.
it's supposed to be. It's Wakanda, and it's supposed to be in Africa.
It's supposed to be.
So are we neglecting the fact that one, Wakanda is made up, and two, South Africa?
No, we're not.
Everybody.
I know that, and I said that there's white people there, but let's not act like apartheid was not in South Africa, that there weren't black people there, that white people weren't doing the same things that they were doing here in the States. Like,
but that has,
you're the visitor, you're the guest. You're not, no,
everywhere,
you're not the homeowner.
Everywhere.
And none of that. That has nothing to do with Black Panther, the movie. That has nothing to do with the roles and white people playing black people and black people playing white people. Now we're getting off topic. Now
How? I'm saying you're talking about Wakanda being made up, right? But it's made up place in Africa. That's like having a made up place in China and it being a whole bunch of white people.
So it's made up.
What's the point of putting it in China then? Put it in fucking Scotland.
Ask him.
Sorry, I'm cussing. I'm just, I mean, but the point is.
I think the point is we should move on to the next question.
Story development.
Okay, so the next question was, see, Cameron, I could just bleep you out. The next question.
We can hear you, Cameron.
I'm sorry. Obviously, you know, we can continue to talk about this, and like, I'm sure there's lots of different perspectives. But the other one I wanted to talk about was like Black people being able to play any role, and specifically like characters that we've known for a long time. Let's say the Supermans or whatever. Is it okay, or 007, right? An agent. Is it okay for that role to not be, you know, played by a white person? Can they be Asian? Can they be Black? Can they be whatever, you know, Latinx, whatever?
Should they?
Would somehow the story fall apart? Because now I have to ask Cameron, you argued that it's okay for white people to play Black person of color roles and the story won't fall apart. However, yesterday you was like, nobody Black can be Superman. So why?
So yes, I did say that. I stand by.
Did. Stand by it, child. Stand by it, because you're gonna stand by yourself.
Definitely, after having a conversation today and having a conversation yesterday, I was definitely wrong by saying that, because like Rashad said, Clark Kent.
You just still be.
He was an alien, so it makes sense. He can be whatever the fuck he wants. It makes sense. So yeah.
I'm mad. I wanted to argue.
Right.
Abel, how do you feel?
Yesterday I did say that I saw Clark Kent as this white guy because that's how it was in the comic. You feel me? Like exactly the opposite of what I just said for Black Panther. So having this conversation out loud and more changes the way you think.
Amen.
Yeah, amen. Yeah.
Bro, try to coach your ass.
It sucks that it sucks that we even have to, if it wasn't for like just the white dominance in Hollywood and in just that industry, we would not even be talking about having Black people play Superman and stuff like that. Because if you really think about it, I'm not saying Black people should have been played all these superhero movies and stuff like that. Nah, but they should just, once you tell a story, it shouldn't be like, I just feel like, okay, before I get, what do you call it? I just feel like when you play a movie, when you direct a movie and everything, there's like intention behind everything. Even if it's a comic or something, there's like a something you're trying to pass on the message. And oftentimes in Hollywood, it's been used to kind of like just show white dominance and like white purity and white supremacy, like for real. So it sucks that even movies and storytelling is tied into political sometimes, not always, but majority of the time. But I genuinely think so. Yeah, superheroes should be Asian. They should be Indian. They should be black. Like it should just be humanity and not just white savior complex. Like oh, at the end of the day, when he saves her, when he saves the city, he puts out his hat. It's a white straight man. Like no.
Yes,
So that's
I
just how
hella
I
agree
feel
with
about
that.
it.
Because
Well,
I feel like by like letting white people play all these types of roles, right? You're seeing them. What happens is like you're seeing them in all these like as individuals, right? They can be a whole wide array of things, and everyone else exists in like some monolithic view, right? Like we're just like one of a big group of people, and that's
we're
it.
all the same.
And I feel like that's the problem. Like that's why we need to see more Asian people in various types of roles, more black people in various types of roles, and more Latin people in various types of roles.
But the
Like think
question
about
is,
when black people win freaking Oscars. They
right,
are the help. They are a gangster. Look at Denzel. Denzel been acting his butt off and he wins the role
or they
when
be
he's the
singing, or they be
criminal.
singing, they be singing and win some Oscars.
Exactly.
But the question was, um, should people of color play roles meant for white people, right? And that's the question.
Not meant for white people. See, in that I don't think there's anything. Okay, I can't say anything meant for white people because there can be specific roles that, like, I don't know, someone's playing, I don't know, one of those British queens or something. Okay,
Okay,
should be a white person.
right, because like,
Specifically for a white male.
I think anything that has like you're playing an actual person, like you can. I don't think you should rewrite history, but for
So
fictional characters.
you can't see no black boys playing that.
play what?
Okay, we talked about The Hangover.
Niggas don't do shit like that.
But it wouldn't. Yeah, I'm like, but they can play it. I'm like, it wouldn't make sense because I always think like Mean Girls, like black bitches don't act like that.
They don't.
Mean Girls would be a whole different movie. It probably wouldn't be good. It was played by Kiki Palmer and Zendaya and what
It wouldn't be good.
Kiki Palmer would have fucked them bitches up and the movie would have been over. Who you talking to? Hair.
I would love to see it.
I would. Well, I'm like, you witnessed it. I'm like, you don't have to see it. You lived that life. I'm like, it wouldn't. It would be a different experience.
But see, that's part of my problem too. Is like it seems as though the mainstream doesn't value black stories. Like it's never good enough. It's never worth putting money into. It's not going to bring big bucks into the theater. And I'm not saying that they can't, but it seems like that's the perception, which is why it just never happens. Like
right.
a lot of black films, they like we'll see they're just a little lower budget, but why? Because a lot of times it's like black people like
bad.
getting it out the mud and trying to fund it themselves, but it ain't no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also think when you ask those questions, I think we all four like looked at it like differently. I didn't like come in it with the idea behind that like I knew about the representation of like black people and people of color, like it should be represented. I was thinking of the question as like a bare minimum type question. It's like, should they be able to like play these roles? Not in seeing that like, oh, we need to have more representation of people of different races. Because that will fold a different answer to like what I say.
Yeah. It seems like you and Abel looked at it more politically than at surface level as what the question was for what
Politically, socially, economically, also.
But that's why I was saying, that's why I started with it's not
time.
Can they, but should they? And so I guess I could have been more clear in my question, but by saying should,
But I knew what you meant though. I knew what you meant.
Oh, okay.
I did. I just decided not to go that way anyway.
Okay, go Abel. Shit.
I was gonna say I have a hard time kind of like separating the two though. Like every time I think about, like, I don't know if it was a film and if you just changed the race of that person, especially if you change it from black to white, the whole dynamic changed. Like
I think it works both ways.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. When you like, I think it's like you just don't tell the story just to tell the story. That's how I feel. if you're gonna if you're gonna tell a story about,
But that's not what's happening. People always tell stories just to tell a story.
Everything doesn't have a message to it. You can't think that.
well,
Everything don't have
All
a
these
message.
movies, these people just churning out shit.
What message does Zombieland have?
that's right.
Or The Hangover. I'm like, what is the message?
No message. Every story is not a story of message. Some shit is just I'm putting out content. I think it'll be a good movie. I'm gonna put it out.
And that's fair and that's valid, Cameron. But you got to kind of have to question when like people just put out stories. There's movies coming out left and right, and it's just a story, right? There is no message to the character, whatever. Why don't we ever see any people of color?
Now, since you
those
told
roles,
us to
that
be
is
in
just a
reality,
story.
you come back to reality. The reality is
reality.
that people just turn out shit for money. That's what
Yes,
it is.
but if you're just turning out shit for money, why are the roles always white? I'm saying, like, why are the actors always white? You can get some Asian dude, you can get some Asian girl, you can get some black. I have seen Girls Trip, but that's the exception. What I'm saying is, like, if you got 1,000 movies and 2 of them got black leading characters, that signals to me that you are intentionally choosing white people for these roles, or not making an effort to diversify your cast. That's what it says to me.
You also have to realize that we are the generation of change. The shit that happened behind us, we can't change.
Every generation change.
Realize what it is.
Don't be changing shit.
Realize prepared to help change or don't speak. Because right now, like Abel's writing shit, I'm writing shit. There's a lot of creative people in the community of color that are writing shit for our people. And yes, we got, like you said, get it out the mud and fund it ourselves. But some of us are gonna make it out and start to change that shit. But we can't keep dwelling on the past, because then our story will never change.
You know what, Cameron? I think that was a good way to end the episode.
Well, I got something to say.
Oh, okay. Because
it might be a little controversial. My thing is, I know when Black people have like made it in the entertainment industry, it's when they start just churning out movies and shit just because they can.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we know.
And that's why you have to be intentional. To like Abel's point, I do think Black
when
people
you have enough money not to be intentional, that's when you know you made it. When you know we're gonna put this movie out, just throw some Black people in here, we'd be good to go. That is when Black people have made it in the entertainment industry.
But Jordan Peele made it, and all his movies have intent.
They do have intent. Yeah. I'm not just saying, but there's only one person. When Jordan Peele can make a movie with no message or no nothing behind it, and it sucks, and it still makes $200 billion.
Oh, but he has.
That's when he's made it.
Did you ever see Keanu? Was that the name of the movie with the cat? It was funny, but it meant nothing. But it was Key and Peele. It meant nothing, but it was funny. People went to see it. I saw it in the theater. But sorry, Cameron, yes, we do have to make changes. Like if we ever want to see anything get improve or get better, we're going to have to really work hard towards that. And I 100% agree with that. And I think it is also important for Black people when they do make it and can make any nonsense movies, the Tyler Perry's, whomever, that they bring other people up with them. I'm not saying Tyler Perry hasn't. What?
When Black people can make any nonsense movie like Tyler Perry.
He's made nonsense movies. Like that's not. And I don't think.
I think his movies do a lot for people who've been through what he is portraying.
No, some of the stories. I'm not saying all of them. Some of his stories I think are really good. But he has made Medea, Boo, Halloween. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm not talking about his whole catalog. But I think it's important for us to pull each other up because we're going to be the best advocates for other Black people.
And the not advocate too. I'm like, we tear each other down quick.
That's okay, but that's another topic. So on that note, this has been a very stimulating conversation, gentlemen. I loved it. That was great. Everyone else, debate amongst yourselves. Debate with us. Message us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Watch this clip if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Go ahead and watch it on YouTube too. You can follow me at Coolkeys, COOLKEYES.
You can follow me at Shads_space. That's SHADS_SPACE.
I wanted to dance so bad.
You can dance.
Follow me on every platform, even OnlyFans. At Clicks by Cam.
Black people making content.
And you can follow me on Insta and Twitter at Abby Russ, ABIIRUSS.
Okay. Anybody want to give any shout outs? Belle, where's your shirt come from? Because that's cool.
This is from Down. I don't want to give them a shout out. I've been talking about them a lot of times on this show.
You got it from
Santa
school?
Cruz. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was a small business. I was gonna try to insert a little plug there. We don't need to.
We don't need to shout them out.
Okay, cool. Any other shout outs? Anybody? No? All right, cool. Catch us with the next topic in another week.
Link.
Click the link. Follow us at Next Topic Podcast, etc., etc., etc.
Toodaloo.